am a slave.
Alcohol is more destructive than crack, cocaine or heroin. Now I know that sounds crazy, but I want you to listen to the full length of this video because I'm going to be laying some personal wisdom that has come from my own personal experiences at your feet. So I apologize if I have difficulty keeping grip of my words and my language, because this is a very raw nerve for me to unpack. But I feel it is a lesson that I can impart upon any young Muslim who sees these videos. Alhamdulillah, I don't know how many of you who do. I know there are many of my subscribers who are beautiful, beautiful brothers and sisters who know the lessons I'm about to teach. But I feel that if they would impart these lessons to the young men out there in YouTube and those of their children and nephews and nieces who are teenagers, I feel it'll be a valuable one. As always, I give praise to Allah subhanahu for bringing me this beautiful deen. I'd like to take this very rare opportunity to thank Scott Lum and several sisters and brothers who many of you may not know for encouraging me to seek the deen. And I'd like to read you something briefly before I start from my Quran, before we start something off. O you who believe, intoxication and gambling, dedication of stones and divination by arrows are abomination of Shaitan's handiwork. Eschew such abominations that you may prosper. Satan's plan is but to excite enmity and hatred between you, with intoxications, gambling, hindering you from remembrance of Allah and from prayer, where you will not then abstain. Obey Allah and obey the Apostle, and beware of evil. If you do turn back, know ye that there is our Apostle duty to proclaim the message in the clearest manner. O those who believe and do deeds of righteousness, there is no blame for what they ate in the past, when they guard themselves from evil and believe to do deeds of righteousness, or again guard themselves from evil and believe, or again guard themselves from evil and do good, for Allah loves those who do good. Now it's important I mention that because it is a very parallelical point of view. Now much of what I'm going to discuss with you is of a personal nature. I'm not going to give names, I'm just going to give you a scenario, a bit of a storytelling moment, relatively speaking. There are 3 siblings, an older brother and 2 younger sisters. They live in the same house. One, the older brother, goes to school, a boarding school to be precise, and spends a great deal of his time, anywhere between 6 to 9 months of the year, away from the family. The mother, on the other hand, drinks heavily. The father works considerably, and the 2 sisters acquire to the mischief that is the nature of young teenage girls. But the destructive nature of alcohol prolificates throughout the ages. From a grandfather who returned from the war and with such horrors drank himself under the table regularly, to the grandmother who couldn't see her husband destroy his life, followed him in the bottle for many other reasons as she raised a large family. The daughters of those 2 from the war era, influenced by the very effect of alcohol, marry men who are also involved in the alcoholic pub regimic lifestyle. Into these 3 generations of alcohol, we come to the middle child. So prolific is alcohol that she cannot have one drink, and has for more than 20 years been an out and outright alcoholic. The pain and suffering that has been caused by this alcohol is generational. It is morally destroying to watch a member of your flesh and blood degenerate sociologically from the sins of the father and mother and the sins of the grandfather. And all of this based upon the legality of alcohol. So I paint upon you this scenario. A young woman, not yet even an adult by all interpretations, gets pregnant, has a son because of alcohol, goes off the rails because of her male role models, one of them working 80-hour weeks away from home, the other studying with every fibre of his being, are outside her immediate influence, and descends into such madness of alcohol that it prolifically changes her life for the next 20 years, to the point that she looks physically older than her older brother. So prolific is her alcoholical problems that no amount of abating from her parents or the regretful rebating of her grandmother or any of her other peers, who are all recovering or acting alcoholics in their own nature, cannot deter her, to the point that her children cannot even smell alcohol without it having an effect on her, an effect on them, and an effect on society. The brutal truth is, generational alcoholical problems destroy families through generations. I will take another example for you. A young Pakistani man has migrated to the Britons in the 60s. He's enamoured by much of the social norms. He doesn't bring his wife. He decides to hook up with another young white woman in the clubs, in the pubs, in this British society. He drinks, but he drinks modestly because he knows it's against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rule. But he's not afraid of it. He has an illegitimate child with this white woman and realises his mistakes, writes home to Pakistan, where he's been supporting his wife at all these times, and decides that he'll get a divorce and do the honourable conduct with the woman who's carrying his child. They marry Islamically, holding the secret of alcohol between them. She converts to Islam. Their child is born. Their child is raised as a half British Pakistani, but the Pakistani community accepts them. You know, this is the 60s and 70s, the years of the love. He grows up, marries a good family, because the grandfather wants to make sure he marries a woman back home. So she comes over. But he too also has an alcohol problem. But he only drinks at the weekends. He only drinks a couple of pints after the evening. But he still hides it from his community and his wife. He then, in the 80s, holds his son in his hands, weeping with joy. His own father, coming here in the 60s, also proudly looking on. Their grandfather had already left, inshallah. He had done to try to do his best. But his son goes clubbing. His son dates gory girls. His son has horrific levels of alcoholism. And when his son goes into the masjid and asks the question, why do I have this disease? The revert says, alcoholism is not necessarily your fault, for it is a prolific, disgusting, insidious demon, a snake if you like, that wormed its way through your grandfather to your father to you and will likely capture your son. It is the only poison that you can pass to your children. Alcohol dependency, as little as we know about it, as little as is recorded about it, is bigenerational. When that revert said that to that third generation British Pakistani boy of nearly 19 years of age, he screamed, burst into tears, threw his fists at his father, who looked at me with such horror and tears. My sons and daughters of Islam, alcohol is far more destructive than anything else, because heroin will only kill you. Alcohol will make your children's children dependent. And I want you to take that lesson and seriously consume what I just said. Because I've given you 2 real-life examples, both mine and ones that have come to me asking those questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I apologize for the darkness of this particular episode, but it was one I had to speak about, because it fucking destroys generations. And let a white man tell you that it is more insidious than any drug that can kill just you. Because it can fucking affect your kids and their kids. And that is why you must steer clear of it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I am a slave.